Now, to offset the volatility of the economic downturn, imagine abandoning cash as a form of currency in Africa and reverting to barter, trading goods and services without any money changing hands. Well, this is what the Zimbabwean-born Simbarashe Chanduru, a chartered accountant by profession, is hoping will happen on the continent. He recently started his own online and SMS-based trading platform called Eaztrade.
With our people back in Africa, mostly the problem is access to capital. And other than that, their customers also do not have access to money to purchase whatever has been produced. And now, facing an onslaught due to globalization, like other people are coming from China, from Europe, and where have you, and they are able to sell goods and services at prices that our local people are not able to manage. So in this case, we're basically now saying, let's go back to the basics.
What made you come up with the idea of a barter trade system in this particular case?
It was actually out of a news report that was being run at the height of hyperinflation in Zimbabwe, where they talked about a hospital in somewhere in rural Zimbabwe that was accepting peanuts, goats, and all those kind of things in exchange for healthcare. And then it got me thinking, so that's basically where I then come up with this whole idea to say, okay, if we've got technology, simple technology like the SMS, which has revolutionized Africa so much, we can actually piggyback on that system.
Paint a picture for us about exactly how this works. Say I'm a farmer.
Yes.
Or a barber.
Yes.
How do I then utilize your services?
If you're in a rural area, whatever we have listed on internet, we have got a print version. And then we're going to be setting up an army of brokers who would then be distributing these print directories. And the print directories basically have got all this information which says, okay, who is supplying what, at what prices are they supplying it. In the case of the example that you have just given, suppose they are in one village. The farmer and the fisherman are going to go to the barber, get their hair cut, and then behind the scenes, we are actually going to transfer the credit from their accounts into the barber's account. So for a start, before each member joins, from the date that they apply for membership, it takes maybe anything up to 14 days. In which time we will be looking at their background and say, okay, how credit worth are they? And then based on their credit worthiness, if they've been doing, say, $1,000 in a month, we will then say we will give them 500 credit. And then that credit, if they happen to be the ones who are purchasing first, they are going to be able to use that to purchase from other members. And then in some cases, we might find people that we say, okay, it's difficult to establish their credit worthiness. We're not going to be chasing them away. We still bring them. Suppose it's someone who does gardening quite well. We're going to say, okay, let's list your services. We list the services, and then once we have done that, through our website, through SMSs, and through our brokers, we are then going to go out there and promote the business.
Now, you said you got this idea because of what was going on in Zimbabwe at the time.
Yes.
Understandably, it was a tough time, and people were doing this on a very informal level. What are the chances that somebody would take this on a more formal level, abandoning the use of currency when that is what is the traditional system of trade at this point?
It won't be a hard sell per se, because let's face it, currency itself is just a medium of exchange. Like they call it Tate money. It's worth what it is worth because someone told us this is what it's worth. At the end of the day, the actual value is in the goods and services that we are trading. And more interestingly, of late, in London, for instance, they commissioned a study, the results of which were published about 2 weeks ago, where they're basically saying London is looking at becoming the barter trade hub of the world. So even in the developed economies, they are beginning to look at this. We have been brought up to believe that cash is king. And for a whole lot of people, it's a mindset that is pretty much entrenched, but we already have strategies worked out to say, okay, how do we get over that?
This is something that you have to literally push and encourage people to see the value of, right?
Certainly. We have introduced it just initially to captains of industry in Namibia mostly. The response has actually been overwhelming. We talked to the Chamber of Commerce and Industry. They were quite excited about that. Then the other group that I talked to was the media. And then I also talked to a number of people in Zimbabwe.
The issue of tax revenues is very critical. How does the barter trade system that you're introducing address that and make sure that the government doesn't lose any money?
We actually have got mechanisms and systems to comply with any regulation in any country that we will be operating from, tax being one of those.
Simbarashe Chanduru is the CEO of Eaztrade, an online and SMS-based trading platform.